In looking at the love of God, we come to the fact that the love of God believes all things. Now, this is over in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 7, where we are getting a definition of what love is, and this is God's quality of love. The love is long-suffering, kind. The love is not jealous. The love does not brag, does not puff itself up, does not act disgracefully, does not seek its own, is not provoked, does not reckon wrong, does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but together rejoices with the truth. It bears all things, it believes all things. Belief is always based upon a promise that has been given to a person. Therefore, the faith that we have in a person is going to determine exactly how we're going to act according to the words that they speak, whether we believe them or not. We see an example of this in relation to truth, where Jesus is speaking to Nicodemus, and he says, and Jesus commented to Nicodemus concerning believing, since I told you earthly things and you do not believe, how if I tell you heavenly things will you believe? This is over in John chapter 3 and verse 12, where he talks about this, and he specifically states that. If you're not going to take my word on earthly things, why would you take my word on heavenly things? Because it really does believe, it depends on what you believe in a person. When we are loving God, we are keeping his commandments because we believe his word. We're believing what he's saying. This is the commandment that he's given to us. Now, this is not the 10 commandments or the 600 plus commandments, if you really understand the commandments and the statutes and what God actually gave Israel. He's not talking about that. He's talking about our commandments. If I'm actually loving God, I am going to obey the commandments he gave to the church, which is love other Christians, love one another. That is actually the commandment, because I'm going to take God at his word. 1 John chapter 3 and verse 23. And this is his commandment, that we should believe on the name of his Son, Jesus Christ, and love one another as he gave us command. Believe on the name of his Son, Jesus Christ, the character of Christ. What did Christ do that I need to believe on? He died for our sins, and he was raised on the third day according to the scriptures. That's what God says. So if I'm actually loving God, I'm going to take him at his word. And then he says to love others. Those who believe that Jesus is the Christ are born again based upon what God said. Now, God said, I would be born again by believing that Christ died for my sins, was buried, and rose again on the third day. And the reality is, I actually am. And it's not just within my mind. I now actually have a part of me that understands spiritual things that was not there before. 1 John chapter 5 and verse 1 talks about that. Whoever believes that Jesus is the Christ is born of God, and everyone who loves him who begot also loves him who is begotten of him. Since we believe in the Son of God, we have overcome the world. We are not trying to overcome the world. We have overcome the world. Completely different attitude when we really understand it. Because yes, we still deal with struggles in this world. But the reality is, because we actually believe in the Son of God, we have overcome the world. And we need to apply that to our lives. 1 John chapter 5 and verse 5. Who is he who overcomes the world but he who believes that Jesus is the Son of God? Love does not rejoice in unrighteousness. So it's not going to believe a lie. When it says that love believes all things, it's not going to be manipulated by lies and just take a person at their word. Because it does not rejoice in unrighteousness. So somebody who's speaking something that's false, it's not going to take them at their word there. Rather, love will take a person at their word and call them out for any lies that they give, because love is always seeking the best for the one loved. So if you're lying, love is going to call you out for it, if it's truly love. It's not just going to take your word for it. Because remember, love actually also rejoices in truth. So therefore, when we think about this in relation to love, especially in the fact that love believes all things, let us be ones who are true to our words. while being mature enough to hold our tongue so that when we make a promise, we are known to be ones who will be true to what we say.